Hey guys, I'm starting a new series today because I'm really sick of grammar, but also this is something I've been wanting to do and it's really important to me. The series I'm creating is called Indigenous because I'm going to explore Indigenous and Native cultures around the world and specifically different genders within these different cultures. Now, I'm still learning too. I don't consider myself an expert, so if you have thoughts, resources, literature, or even personal contacts that you'd like to share with me in building this series, feel free. And of course, I'm making it English, so if you're learning English at the advanced level, and if you're an advanced level student learning English and you need some more listening and vocabulary practice, use this video as an exercise. I've created some questions to go along with this video. Let's say they're at the C1 level. C1 because I'm talking fast in this series.
Let's go.
Questions to help you check your understanding and work on those listening skills, but also questions to build and practice vocabulary. If you would like those questions, then just email me magarrett9@gmail.com, and also that information is in the description below. And for everybody else, my main purpose in this series is to help people understand gender through a little bit of history, a little bit of ethnic studies, and language. Today, all around the world, transgender people and people who don't identify as cisgender male or cisgender female face huge amounts of discrimination. In some places, it's so bad, it's to the point where they're murdered for expressing a gender identity that doesn't fit within the framework of European ideas of gender. And this makes sense. Euro-Christian cultures have colonized much of the non-European world, and that's a powerful historical effect that continues to affect and hurt indigenous cultures all around the world. Southeast Asians, South Asians, Latin Americans, Polynesians, or Islanders in very bad ways. If we go back hundreds of years ago, 600 years ago, 700 years ago, in India, in Polynesia, in Africa, well, probably thousands of years ago for Africa, since African countries were probably some of the first to be colonized. Anyways, if we go back to these untouched places that had no influence from European cultures or other cultures, we would see societies with very different ideas of gender. Oh my god! So today I'm starting with where it all began for me here in Hawaii. And we're gonna talk about the word mahu and what it means in the Hawaiian language, what it meant before colonization, and what it means today. But let's think about gender for a second. I think the problem that people have today, people who don't accept non-binary genders or transgender people, is that these people have been trained to think in a European sense of gender, as if European culture is the only culture that exists, as if European ideas of gender are the only ones that matter. This being strengthened and reinforced by Christianity and how people interpret the Bible. The problem is that these people objectify or even sexualize other gendered people. But that's not the conversation that we're having right now. We're not talking about who you're attracted to, men, women, both, whatever. People who are fighting for equality for transgender people or non-binary people are focusing on the individual person and their rights. And honestly, those kind of mean, discriminatory people are kind of gross. All they care about, all they can seem to focus on is what's in between somebody's legs or where they gotta go pee. Like, what? Get your mind out of the gutter, you nasty. Again, all this type of thinking does is objectify a person to where all they are to you is a body part and bodily function. Ew. It just turns a human into a thing. And when you think of a person as just a thing, it's easy to take their rights away. Why? Because they're different. Because they're different than you and your culture. Because they don't fit in with what your daddy told you when you were young. That humans with dicks like monster trucks and hunting, and humans that can have babies like flowers and Barbies. Okay, this isn't going very linearly, but anyways, let's move on. We're gonna talk about Hawaii. My home! I'm not Hawaiian. I never will be. But Hawaiians are constantly fighting against modern day colonization against their peoples, and so are my native peoples of Guatemala, so I mean, I see you. So if you want to visit Hawaii, go for it, but learn some culture first. As that big Pacific Ocean tells us, Hawaii is not mainland America. Hawaii is a Polynesian island, and I want to think about pre-colonial Hawaii for a second. Or what I mean is Hawaii before any foreigners came here. Hawaii before America stole it from Queen Liliuokalani, Before the Portuguese came, before the Filipinos came, before the Japanese came. Just Hawaii, with Kanaka Maoli living here by themselves, enjoying these beautiful islands untouched. During this time, there were Kane, there were Wahine, and there were Mahu. And here you can see the importance of language. The word transgender is an English word. It's a Western word and really hasn't been used until relatively recently because Western cultures didn't have these other ideas of gender, and so they didn't need a word for that. But in Hawaii, people expressing a gender besides male or female has always existed. Exhibit A, the word Mahu.
What is that?
Okay, bring it back. So we're in Hawaii, no tourists. Can you imagine? No one here but the Hawaiians. No crazy Mayan boys trying to teach people about Hawaiians. Who taught people hula? Mahu. Who helped take care of children? Mahu. Who taught people arts and language? Mahu. Who went to fight in battles if they were needed and protected people? Mahu. So the Mahu had a place in society just like Kane and Wahine. They were respected, and I mean, why wouldn't they be? But then colonization happened, and as usual, it everything up. Europeans came to the islands and said, what the hell is a Mahu? We don't have people who are biological men that express femininity, so it's wrong. It's wrong. And why is it wrong? Because we don't have it in our society. I swear, in history, Europeans were like 5-year-olds. Like,
If I don't have it, you can't have it.
Why? Because I said so. Because it's not in my interpretation of the Bible.
anyways, so after hundreds of years of foreigners basically stripping Hawaiians of their culture, their language, banning their language, looking at the hula kahiko as just like this barbaric dance, banning people's gender identities. Consequently, the word mahu has turned into something different today. Because language is not static, language changes, and so has the word mahu over time. So, flashback to like 4 or 5 years ago, I did my master's degree in a language area at the University of Hawaii here in Hawaii. And I wrote my final paper on one word. Can you guess what that word is? I wrote my paper and did all my research on the word mahu. Because I noticed that every time I heard somebody use the word, they were referring to a gay man.
Mary, you know he's a mahu, right? Look at that big mahu over there. You know she crazy.
And I was like, what? From my studies, I thought that mahu referred to somebody who was like in between genders, with both masculine and feminine features, not just a gay man. So what I did is I interviewed gay Hawaiian men and I asked them about the word and what it meant to them. I'm not gonna go into it too much. If you wanna read my paper, then just email me and I'm happy to send it to you. It's a little bit long. But long story short, for some, they use the word mahu to refer to a gay man who is effeminate, but a man who still identifies as a man. For others, they use it like that, but they understand the historical and traditional meaning of the word as kind of an in-between person who is also a practitioner of the arts. There was no one answer amongst all the Hawaiian men that I interviewed. Everybody was different, and everybody used the word differently. So my point is, over time, the word has changed in the way it's used. And why is that? Because of all of the external outside influences to the Hawaiian Islands. But anyways, that's basically what I wanted to share with you today. Just a simple introduction of another gender here in Hawaii. A Hawaii with an absence of Euro-Christian influence. A beautiful society that has kane, wahine, and mahu. And that's it. There's nothing, oh my eye. And that's it. And that's it. Here we have a society, an indigenous society, where being a non-binary gender is not weird. It's not weird, it's not over-sexualized, it's not objectified. It's just another group of people who historically were not mocked, were not hated, and their equality was not always up for discussion, because they were equal like everybody else. And again, this video is for everybody so that we can stop obsessing over the physical attributes of transgender people or non-binary people and focus on getting them their equality and respect. Those are two very different things, right? You can have equal rights and be protected by the law, but people can still disrespect you. So don't forget about the respect. This series is to help us untrain ourselves or other people and our way of thinking, and to educate our family family members, especially the really conservative ones, from being closed-minded when it comes to gender. We never want to think about our culture as better or superior than something else, or even right when another one is wrong, just because it's not included in our immediate culture, or just because it's not included in the culture we grew up with, or the culture that we're most familiar with. Woo! This is a lot more tiring than grammar. Anyways, again, feel free to send me any resources that you might know of, have, or want to suggest on this subject. And a final note, I don't want us to think about, other genders as, ooh, that's exotic. What a cool thing to study. Because we're dealing with real people here. So think about it as, oh, okay, that's different. I didn't know about that before. But yes, people who identify as in between genders or as transgendered people deserve the same rights and respect as everybody else. Ooh, that was a good one. Help me educate people who are threatened, scared, or disgusted by people who express other gender identities. Help me educate people so they'll look outside of their small little towns and their small worlds and realize there's a huge world out there with so many different cultures that are valid and important to preserve. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Again, if you are studying English and you want to use this video as listening and vocabulary practice, then just email me and I will send you those questions and then the answers in a separate document, and you can check them yourselves or you can email me back with any questions you might have. Stay tuned for episode 2, where I'm going to explore the Hisra of India, another indigenous gender. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.